come from broken home. You come from staying here, staying there, not having no stability. To now you a father. You've been to prison. You got arrested. You got all these things against you. How do you stay strong? How do you continue to go on with all these things you facing with no real type of mentor or no type of somebody just there all the time motivating you?
Told me that when I was getting born that you wasn't able to be there at the birth because you was in jail, but I never understood. You told me that you was in jail for something you didn't do, but yeah. So what was the charges looking like?
They had me with 4 drug charges. So they said I made a sale on 4 different occasions, and they had 2 of it recorded, and the 2 of them was not recorded. So they have film, supposedly, of me making drug sales to one of their informants. Hello, everyone. Hello, how y'all doing out there? Welcome to another episode of Generational Health and Self-Love. I'm your boy Life,
Ron Easy.
and today we're gonna finish off where we left from the last episode, just talking a little bit more about my childhood and things that we can do to help as we turn into young adults to get away from all the pain and all the trauma that was caused when we were younger. So Ron Easy gonna talk to you a little bit more.
Yeah, I just want to start off by saying my favorite part about us doing this is seeing like how you was as a kid and what you had to go through and everything that happened to you while you was younger and growing up. And then I'm thinking about my childhood and everything that happened then and me growing up. And no, I be going through things and thinking that I'm going through like a hard time, and sometimes I be thinking like, can I handle this and all this other stuff? But then I'll be like, I'm hearing your story, I'm like, wow, but my dad went through this, that, and the other and whatnot, so of course I can handle this or whatnot. But I know that y'all told me that when I was getting born that you wasn't able to be there at the birth because you was in jail, but I never understood. You told me that you was in jail for something you didn't do, but that's all I really know about the situation. So I was hoping you could explain what that whole situation was and why you couldn't make it because you was being, accused of something you didn't do.
Okay, well, we're going to get right into it, I see. So to answer that question, let me take you back. It was, I guess, July. It was in July 2003.
Okay.
July 2003. You wasn't born yet. Your mom was pregnant with you. I was driving down the street when me and one of my cousins, and the police pulled us over. So the police pulled us over. They walked up to the car, and they asked me for my license. I gave it to him, and he came back. I was driving. He came back, and he was just staring at me, and he was staring at my license, and he was like, "That ain't you." But I really didn't think about it at the time, and he was like, "You need to get out the car." And I was like, "For what?" He's like, "You got a warrant." I was like, "For what, though?" He wouldn't tell me at the time, so he got me out the car, put me in handcuffs, told my cousin he can take my car. And by the way, we was riding that Bronco like OJ.
Which one, the gold one?
No, you never seen the Bronco. You remember I told you wasn't born yet?
Yeah.
So the Bronco was reference to OJ, the football player. But anyway, I got put in handcuffs. He allowed my cousin to take the Bronco away. And so we driving to the police station, and I'm studying like, what am I arrested for? You still ain't told me what I'm going to jail for. I said, you need to let me know so I can get this bond money together and so somebody can come get me, because I just know I'm about to bond out. So we get down to the police station, and he brings me over these papers, and I'm looking at it, and they got all these charges on there, and it's like it's a federal case. So I'm like, oh, this is serious. It's a federal case, and they got me with 4 charges, and I'm looking at the dates on them, and I'm looking, and I'm just all confused at this time, not knowing what's really going on, because I had no idea what I was really being arrested for. I mean, he told me once I got there, but it still didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, so what was the charges looking like?
They had me with 4 drug charges. So they said I made a sale on 4 different occasions, and they had 2 of it recorded, and the 2 of them was not recorded. So they have film, supposedly, of me making drug sales to one of their informants. So anyway, I'm in the jail. They put me in a jail cell, So then probably the next day they transferred me to a federal holdover. A federal holdover is like a county jail where they have a regular county jail, but then they have a place just for federal inmates with people that's has been charged with a federal crime. So they moved me there, and I go there, and I'm in a small little area, and it's like I get in my cell, I talk to my cellie, and we talking about his case, my case, and
While all this is going on, did they ever tell you like how long you might be in there or why?
Not until I went to court, and they told me, read all my charges. I was facing like, since I had been to prison before, I was facing like, if I went to trial and got found guilty, I would have got anywhere from 20 years on up. In federal cases, you got to do 85% of your time.
If you did that, I wouldn't have met you till like today, till like not till a couple
till you
months
turned,
ago.
yeah, no, you would have met me. You would have met me when you turned 17, 18.
Oh, because you got time on like
No, because you would have did. I would have did 17 years off of 20.
17.
Yeah. So anyway, as time go by, my lawyer comes to see me. So because I get a lawyer, my family made sure I had a lawyer. I get a lawyer. My lawyer comes up there, and he has the videotape of the crime that I was supposedly had committed. So before I tell you what was on the tape, at the time I'm 6'1", 240 pounds, and so keep that in mind. I'm 6'1", 240 pounds. So me and my lawyer sitting there talking. He was like, "Well, let me show you the tape of the evidence they have." So he pops in the tape, and we watching everything go down. We can see the guy who's making the sale, which they claim is me. He's like 5'9", 160 pounds. 5'9", 160 pounds. Me at the time, 6'1", 240 pounds. So I'm thinking to myself, how did they confuse him with me?
So what your lawyer say after that y'all watched it together?
Well, we watched it together, and I said, so... He said, I knew that wasn't you on the tape. That's what the lawyer said. I said, so do I get to go home now? He was like, no. I'm like, what you mean, no? Like, that's not me on the tape.
It seemed like everybody knew because you said the cop looked when you was in the car. And
yeah. So he said, well, this is what they're going to do. They got 2 other sales recorded. One you can clearly see is not you. The second one is very distorted. You can't see, or all you can do is hear. You can't see nobody. And the other 2 are just surveillance, no video. So he said what they're going to do is they're going to drop the one in the video and charge you with the other 3. And so I'm thinking to myself, I said, well, I got the paperwork because I got my what they call a motion of discovery, so you can see everything that's been said with the case. So I'm looking at the case, and it says in the case from one of the detectives on the case, he says the guy that makes the sale in the first tape is the guy who made all the sales that we investigated.
So since you've been arrested and got in jail, and now you got the motion of discovery, how much time has passed since you finally see the motion of discovery that's saying that the same guy made all the purchases?
It probably was about a month while I was locked up, and so, a month. I've been in here probably about a good month. So like it started in July was when I got arrested. So I asked for a speedy trial instead of waiting, because sometimes you be in the Fed system waiting a year or 2 years just to go to trial. So I requested a speedy trial, which is something people don't normally do when they have a federal case. So as I'm in there, my cellie, the guy I was in the cell with, he's going to trial, right? He come back after he finished his trial. He go get sentenced. They give him 30 years.
I know he can't wait. So after he got the 30 years, did he come back and you seen him?
Yeah, I seen him. We talked about it. He said he was gonna fight it in an appeal and all this stuff. Off of 30, you got to do like 27 years.
Okay, so question: whatever he was getting charged for, I know he got back. Did he tell you if he really did it or not, or was he saying he didn't do it?
I don't care if he did it or not. I mean, you don't ask people whether they do it or not in prison. I mean, it's just. I really don't ask people business. If you want to talk about it, that's fine. You don't, that's fine.
Well, I guess you didn't know him. Well, I know, when you say if I got stopped for something or I got arrested for something, and I told the cops this, and then I know when I talk to you, you can be like, so son, did you really do or,
Yeah, because you my son.
Yeah, but I get you don't know him, so.
Yeah. So that conversation was nothing. It didn't matter whether you was guilty or not, because I'm in here for something I ain't doing. It didn't matter that I was innocent, you know, and I'm still had to go to trial. So he get his 30 years. He eventually leave. And by the way, at the same time, this what one thing I remember LeBron had just played. It was his. We was watching LeBron first year in the league. I'm like, man. So anyway, we I guess December hit. You was born on December the 3rd. Of course, you know that. My trial started December the 9th.
Uh-huh.
So I'm thinking like, man, I done missed my son being born because of this bull. And now I got to go to trial. And their conviction rate is like a high 90. They like 97, 98%
So most of
conviction
the people
rate.
that,
Yeah,
yeah.
so most of the people that go to trial, federal trial anyway, they get convicted. So day one goes through. We go to trial, everybody testifying and all that. While I'm sitting there, while people are testifying, I'm sitting there writing notes. A young lady gets called to the stand by the prosecuting attorney.
Right.
She gets on there. She had made a statement against me, saying that, you know, that was my number, that was my car, and all these different things. So she gets on the stand, and she says right there on the stand that the police brought her down to the police station, wrote the statement, and made her sign her name. She said on the stand, I don't know this man. I never talked to this man. I don't have no communication with this man. Said that in the courtroom. They had to send the jury out because of some law that came up that falls in accordance to what was going on at the time.
Wait.
So she was able to make the statement, but they had to send the jury out because she already had a statement.
So did they send them out after she said that? Or
No,
before?
they sent them out before because no, this is what they supposed to do because she already had a statement. So the reason why they allowed her to make that statement was because if I got found guilty, I can use that to come back for another trial.
Right.
So that's why that was the purpose of that. So anyway, I never took the stand myself. And so what happened was we went, like I say, it started on the 9th. Trial ended on the December the 12th. And on the December the 12th, the judge stood up there after the jury. He said to the jury, come up with a verdict. They said yes. And then he said, would you please stand? And he's like, how do y'all see Mr. Caldwell on count 1? They said, not guilty. Count 2, not guilty. Count 3, not guilty. And I was free to go.
What else? What did the jury even have that was going against you? Like, what did they
Nothing.
have?
They didn't have nothing. It was see what it is. Most people when they get locked up, even if they were innocent, they'd be scared to go to trial because of the conviction rate and then how much time they telling you gonna get if you go to trial. See, if I would have got found guilty, I would have had 20 years, whether I did it or not. And you hear stories all the time about people who've been sent to prison and been in jail for years for something they didn't do.
But you was gonna have to go to trial either way, right? Like,
no, they should have just threw it out. It shouldn't have been no trial. It's the video that shows that I'm not the person, clear as day.
And then you said the motion discovery had the detective saying that it was the same person. So
yeah, so it's a shame that sometimes things like that happen. We had to go through things.
Definitely was like that.
And one of the thing that I regret the most was I wasn't there when you was born. So that was just I came home a couple of days, so you never ever knew about that until you was told the story. But I was there like you was a week old. So yeah. So yeah, that was a difficult time in my life too because being in prison, knowing that you didn't do something, it's really difficult. And then the thing about it is,
I know how it is one day.
What if I didn't? What I'm saying, the thing about it is, what if I didn't have no money for the lawyer? See, a lot of people get locked up. They don't have no money for a lawyer, so that's why they plead guilty, whether they do it or not. They don't have nobody to fight for them. My lawyer came over there and was fighting for me, so it was a little different. But like I said, I had $10,000 to give to him. A lot of people don't have that because it's just like they go after people who they know are less fortunate, who really don't have money for bond, who really don't have money for lawyers, and they just plead guilty and move on to the next. So I was very happy to be able to have support from my family and friends at the time to helped me through that situation because it was a real bad situation because I didn't know what was going to happen, and even though I felt strong about going to trial, it still was some type of fear of what may happen, even though I know I'm not
Yeah, it's
guilty.
always. I feel like it's always a little bit of fear when you know that your life is in the hands of people that don't know you, and they only gonna go off what other people are telling them, and then you already know that you're not guilty. So it's like, what are the? Because at the time, did you know what they were saying against you, or what they were saying like? Because it didn't seem like nobody had anything against you. So did you know?
Yeah, I knew what they had. They had somebody who they had caught with some drugs, a guy who used drugs, and he said, "Well, I can set somebody up if you want me to throw out my charges." So at the time,
Right.
they wanted me. So they said, "Can you get this guy right here?" He said, "Yes," and he made the sale. Well, he bought drugs from someone and told the police that it was me. He gave them my name. And
Mm.
so that alone, after me getting out of trial, getting off of the trial, beating the trial, I mean, I asked my lawyer, could I sue? And he was like, no. I said, why? He said, because someone else said that was you. They purchased the police didn't do it. The informant did it. He purchased the drug and told the cops that it was you. So that that alone, what I wasn't able to sue them for false imprisonment.
So would you have to go find the person who did it, or do they
No, I just
can
what
people just
that
do
no,
that?
what nothing. Just go home. That was it. I mean, but 6 months of my life was taken for nothing. 6 months, 10,000, and whatever else. I spent a lot of money while I was in there. I used to, I send your mom money home to move at one point
Hmm.
because she was moving from one house to another house. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna touch on that a little later because I did got some questions about that. But for now, let's just take it back a little bit. And I know you mentioned something about when you was a young adult that really challenged you mentally, and I was hoping you could, touch upon that for me and the viewers out there.
Something that happened to me that challenged me mentally.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something
yeah,
you
yeah,
mentioned.
yeah. It was, and once again, there was another thing dealing with being locked up.
Oh,
See,
yeah.
this is like a revolving circle, and then
Well, that's what happened, I guess, when you live in a certain type of lifestyle. Even if you not all the time, it might not be you, but when you in that type of environment and that lifestyle, you can constantly get. I get
yeah.
like involved in that.
Well, that's when once you get into that system, now you are a target, so to speak, because now that you have a record, you are looked at as someone who might be doing something, or it's easier for people to say, yeah, he did that, he did this. But this particular incident, when I told you I went to jail when I was younger. When I got out, I was on parole, right?
18 when you went. You
Yeah.
was 18. Okay,
Then I
yeah.
came home when I was about 23.
5 years.
Yeah. So I'm on parole now, right? Home, free at last, feeling good, doing pretty good for myself. Um, so I was on parole, so you had to have a parole officer and stuff like that. So what happened was
Right.
I moved from one location to another. Like I didn't move out of town or to a different state or anything. I moved from one side of town to another side of
So
town.
just a different house.
Yeah, just a different house. And I did that because the house I was moving to was bigger, more room. It was newer than the house I was coming from. And like I said, I was doing good, so I was getting a little money, so I was happy to upgrade. So once I moved, I contacted the parole officer and let them know, hey, look, I just changed addresses. I moved from this location to that location. And I didn't know at the time that my parole officer had went to the old location looking for me or whatever. So they came. I was getting. It was a Saturday morning. I want to say. Go
But
ahead.
when you told did you have to call the patrol officer himself or herself? Like, did you?
You call their office. It's a big office full of parole officers. You let them know what your parole officer is, and then you talk to them.
So did they say anything when you was on the phone?
No, I left a message because
Oh,
they didn't answer the phone. So anyway, they got in contact with me and they came by to my new location. It was like a Saturday. Me and my friend was about to go play basketball. So I was putting on my gym shoes, had my sweats on, and I'm about to go play basketball. So my parole officer shows up and say, you know, I need to talk to you. And I was like, what's going on? It's like, well, you about to be violated. I said, violated? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, for what? They said, for change of address. I
Oh,
said, but I contacted you and let you know that I had moved. And she was like, well, you should have done that prior to you moving. I was like, what's the big deal? I mean, I still did it. It wasn't like I tried to run or something. So right then and there, I hadn't committed a crime. I hadn't got arrested. I hadn't did nothing but change your address, which is not a crime. But when you're on parole, there's certain stipulations that they try to hold you to. So this is what I mean by mentally. You have to have mental strength to go through what happened to me in the next couple of hours. So here it is, a Saturday morning. I'm getting dressed to go play basketball. Got my own house, got my cars, doing good. And the police come get me. They put me in handcuffs. Go ahead.
wait. So the patrol officer came, and then hours after that, they came and left.
No. Listen what I'm saying. They came and got me. They told me I was being violated. Put me in handcuffs. What I mean by what happened hours later is they put me in handcuffs and they drove me past the city jail, past the county. They drove me straight to the penitentiary, which took a couple hours. That's why I said a couple hours. I went from my home, not to jail, not to the county jail, but to prison. They took me from my house to prison and had me on lockdown, which they called the X house, and had me in there for like 30 days straight on straight lockdown.
Did you even get to change your clothes when she was at the house?
You listen what I'm saying. It don't matter. It don't matter what you got on. When you get to prison, you're not wearing that.
That's not, yeah.
So I had on some gyms. I said I had, yeah.
No, yeah, I'm saying when she came, was it like she took you immediately, or did she say like,
yeah. What you get dressed up to go to jail? I mean, so it wouldn't matter what I had on. You going to jail, and they taking off everything you got. So they took me from my house once again to prison, and for the next 30 days I was on lockdown. So I went from being in the free world at my own house to being in a cell with somebody I'd never met before for 30 days straight, not going out of the cell to nothing. You locked down for 30 days straight just because I changed addresses. So I'm saying at that time, the mental strength that it took to be able to go through that, to be in your home in the same day, not a month, 2 months, a year later, the same exact day, you in prison on lockdown. You woke up in your bed and went to sleep in a 2-man cell. It was like one of the hardest times for me to go through.
Yeah, so you said like they had you on like just putting the food through the thing, closing it.
Yeah,
was it a window in there? I mean,
it's a window, but I mean, you on lock. You can't go nowhere.
Not like no recess, no TV.
I'm saying the people that in here, they went from the city jail to the county. So they,
No, yeah, I get what you're saying.
So me just getting thrown in there, just leaving my house that morning to being in prison. Yeah. That same day, that's unhuman, man. That is not right. I don't care what the circumstances is.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot to take in to leave your house. In the next couple hours, you in prison. You ain't in the county. Like I said, you're not in the city jail. You can't buy. You in prison, and then ain't nothing nobody can do. I had to sit there 30 days straight with a jumpsuit on, some underwear that was too little, because that's all that they had left, and go shower every other day. They let us out the shower, go back to your cell. That was it. Just to see the parole board. And they end up violating me, and I end up doing like 7 months because of change of address. So I end up doing time in prison for not committing a crime.
And you don't get there, you just went straight there. But so my question is, when you was in there for 30 days, because all you was out for was to use the bathroom, you said, how was it like? Because did you get any books, or was it just you?
No, you can't. You can't do that until after you get out of that phase.
So you was in there for 30 days, then you had to do another 7 months after that?
Well, 7 more months because I had to. What they did was they violated my parole, and what that mean is, say I had about 18 months, 16 months on parole. They cut it in half and maybe do half of the time, and when I got out, I wasn't on parole no more.
Oh, right, because you did this
So
basically
it's
time in
yeah, so
jail.
I'm doing the time. So it's just like I went back to prison, facing whatever could happen in there for not even committing a crime.
So wait, so this is after the 5 years you had spent in there,
Yeah,
and then now you how old are you doing it? Like
probably
20,
about 23,
20,
20, about 23, 24 at the time, somewhere around there.
and then you now you in jail for a couple months or 7 months on top of that. So the first 30 days was the one that was the period where you just was in that room.
They
And you
call it
couldn't
the
get out.
X house. The
I thought it
first
was
30
like
days.
solid.
It's
Like,
like solitary, but I mean, it is and it ain't because I wouldn't. You solitary you usually get in trouble and get put in solitary,
oh, but I guess
but it's the same thing as solitary.
just a different name because it's not
Yeah,
the same. Okay, and
yeah,
then the 7 months.
yeah. So yeah, that's what they did to me, and like I said, you had to be mentally strong to be able to
Wait,
adjust to that.
so I'm pretty sure you got to know the person you was in there with for the
Yeah,
30 days.
yeah.
So what did y'all do? Like, cause having to stay in a room, I don't know if people understand, but I know like when I was in the holding cell for however long I was, just that was like, you know what I'm saying, like draining on the mind. So like, did you ever feel like you was going crazy in there, or like, how did y'all, or
No,
you and the
no.
person that was in there with, like, what
Like I
was,
said, you had to be mentally tough. So since I was able to endure it, and the guy that was in there, all he did was just talk because he had been high, but so he really, I think he was still high from coming off the streets. Like all he talked about was all the drugs he was doing on when he was out, and I was just
mm-hmm.
listening to him, talk, and then you had this little space in your door where you can yell out and talk to people. So it was a couple people in there that I knew. Um, so yeah, I yelled like people be yelling and asking them who in here, or
Mm-hmm.
you got somebody what they call a trustee who run around. They know the people, and so I found out who was in there. So I would yell at them at certain times, and we would talk like that. And that was about it. You just had to wait it out.
Yeah, nah. I was in the holding cell, and I can only imagine 30 days of doing like that. But
30 days from being like I say at your
down,
house that morning.
yeah. But now let's finally talk about something that I don't think I ever really got an official story from neither of y'all. Is how did you and my mom meet back in the day? Like how did that come about? Because I don't think I heard a story about this.
Oh, I mean, it was really just I was just out a lot, so I'm everywhere. So I just
Yeah, cause
at the time I wasn't really into like committed relationship. I'm just out just doing me, and this I happened to see your mom somewhere, and I spoke to her, and we got to talking, got a number, and then we just talked on the phone, and that's kind of pretty much
how
how
it
that.
started.
Yeah.
Was that like a party or something
No, I really ain't no big party guy.
back in the day?
Even back then, I wasn't really big. I mean, I get out, but I wasn't excited about going to parties all the time.
Right, right.
And I went to a few, but no, it wasn't at a party. It was out somewhere.
Okay, okay.
So yeah, that's how that happened.
Okay, so it's way simpler than I thought it was. But
Yeah, it wasn't really no big extravagant. We out and just
yeah,
like we just
I don't know what I had.
yeah.
In
She
mind.
lied. She lied about her age. She did do that. Just let you know.
I'm bad. I'm bad.
But no, we was real cool. I mean, we got along good for a while, but we was young, like both of us, and we both made mistakes, just like in previous relationship with other people. We just, make mistakes and you grow from 'em and you learn. But as you can see, we still cool. We don't have no ill feelings towards each other. We
Right,
get along good, so we didn't do damage to the point where we could never parent. Like we've done a pretty good job of co-parenting and stuff like that. So
Now that you told us a story about how you went to prison straight from home and you was in basically solitary for like 30 days, and we know about all the little things that happened as you was growing up, which
hmm
is really crazy compared to what I know I went through. But going through all that, what kept you sane mentally? What kept you from becoming what you could have and stayed in jail and life and all that? What kept you going and keep pushing?
Honestly, I'm gonna tell you, my children, my kids. I had Jocelyn, which is the oldest. Of course, you know that. Your sister and your sister Emerald, and then you at the time.
Uh-huh.
So at that time, I had three children, and all three of the children at that time, I never witnessed them born because each time one of y'all was born, I was locked up. So that was used to weigh on me like, man, each time one of my children were born, I was locked up. I never got to see the birth of my children. And so me just wanting to be a better father, a better example. And my mom, I can't lie, my mom was another thing that kept me going because my mom, she's a very strong woman. So she put that strength in me. Somehow, some way, she put that strength in me to never give up. So my children, and at the time, my mom was like the driving force for me not to want to give up, not to just cave in, because I used to think like, if even if I do give up, what I'm gonna do? What does giving up mean? Does that means you killing yourself, doing some suicide? Do that means you just sitting on the couch and you just don't want to do anything no
You know,
more?
you
Like
know
what is giving up?
what I feel giving up is when you allow yourself to do whatever. It's like when you allow yourself to give in to distractions and you allow yourself to give in to temptations and
Yeah,
you like when you start to just do whatever. Like it's like you go have fun. You just
yeah,
doing things for entertainment, just pleasure on a pleasure basis. I feel like when you're trying, you do stuff that's gonna help you future wise. You do stuff that's gonna help you like mentally and physically, and just you do things that's gonna set you up, kind of. But when
yeah.
you not,
That's but how do you do that when no one's never taught you how to do that? See, this is the difficult things that I'm faced with. To be a father, I never really was taught how to be a father because of the relationship at the when I was growing up that me and my father had. We, like I say, as I got older, our relationship grew. But when I was younger, we never hung out. We never did father and son type of thing. So I'm saying like when you in that position and you don't know because no one's been there. You come from broken home. You come from staying here, staying there, not having no stability. To now you a father. You've been to prison. You got a record. You got all these things against you. How do you stay strong? How do you continue to go on with all these things you facing with no real type of mentor or no type of somebody just there all the time motivating you. So I had to dig deep within myself and pull that motivation out, pull that strength out, and just the things, because my childhood wasn't all bad. So the
right,
things that I could remember that were good, I had to peel from those things and from the times that I had with my mom that were good to gather my strength up to be a father. And then I wanted to be a good father. I didn't want to be a deadbeat. So those were the things that kept me moving in a positive direction, even when I felt like, man, it was just so much going on. I don't know what to do, this and that. So my children, I just don't understand how a person, a father could have children and not want to be there for their child. That was something that it just, that thought never crossed my mind that I wasn't gonna be there.
right. Before I knew all this, and you telling me everything that's going on in your past, I know that when you're younger, you don't really not that even I just wasn't told, but you don't really think about what your parents go through. Because I know I used to feel some type of way about certain things while I was younger, but I never really knew where you was coming from, what you went through. But I just, when you're younger, you don't think about those things. You just have your emotions and your feelings, and you just feel that way. But hearing it now, it explains certain things that I'm thinking about my childhood a little more, and I'm understanding, things that happened back then. But we'll get into that
Yeah,
when we start talking about my childhood. But
yeah.
when you had your first kids, like, is some people talk about a feeling that happens. I feel like we think that it's an immediate feeling, but is the feeling like when you have your first kid, when you have a child, is it like, does that feeling get to you over time, or did you feel something like immediately?
I felt something was
with
with
Johnson? I guess
with
'cause
Jocelyn was I just knew some that I just knew when she was conceived.
you was like,
Do you
wait,
hear what Did you hear what I just said?
you knew someone when she was conceived.
I knew when she was conceived. When I told her mom, "You pregnant." I felt it.
Oh,
You
before y'all
could.
had did anything.
No. We had to do something
Oh
for
no, I'm saying
her.
before y'all had went and got like tested and she
No,
did the
yeah.
yeah.
No, that same night after we had sex, I told her you're pregnant. She said, "Don't say that." I said, "You pregnant?" She's like, "Why you say that?" I said, "I don't know. I could feel. I felt something. I mean, I'm just being. And you can ask her to
Right.
this day. Like I told her that. I said, "You pregnant?" And she was like, "How you know?" I don't. I said, "I don't know. I just feel. I could feel
No, I
something."
have moments like that a
And
lot of
2 weeks
times.
later, she told me she was pregnant.
All right.
So I knew it. I don't know how I knew it, why I knew it, but I just knew that she was pregnant. So even though I wasn't there for her birth, I still felt uh, I felt like I could feel like the love for a child, even though I wasn't able to physically give that to her in the first 5 years of her life. That was very disappointing, and that was something that I'm really just now getting. Me and your sister relationship has been up and down, but
Yeah,
I didn't really
yeah.
take in all the things that was going through her. Just like how you said you didn't know what I was going through, I didn't know what she was going through
Right.
because
Right.
she wasn't able to express herself until she got a certain age, and we still building and developing that relationship even to this day.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely see
So
that. Yeah.
and it's something that she's 29. And I never given up. Even though I had times when I was just upset, frustrated because I just wanted to have that relationship with my daughter. So being a father or being a parent, period, you have to. You can never give up on your child. You just can't.
Yeah. Nah.
You can. If your child doing wild stuff, crazy stuff, that's one thing. You give them some space, but at the same time, you just don't give up on your child, and that's just something I could never see myself doing. So, um, I'm just happy that me and my oldest, we do have a relationship, and we still in contact with each other, and we still developing some that we didn't have in the beginning.
All right. So when you did go to jail while she was uh being born and she was pregnant, did you and Johnson's mom split up right after you got in jail, or
A lot of people won't admit it, but every time when you go to jail, you split up regardless.
yeah,
You might think in your mind y'all together, but
yeah,
it's
that
a
don't mean
split to a certain degree. I'll put it like that. If you got a lot of time, and we was young, so I had a
five
lot of
years though.
time. Never had my own apartment. I was still in high school, staying with my parents, with my dad at the time. So she stayed in touch for most of the time. She sent me pictures of her. My grandma would have her a lot. So some of my family was
Jocelyn.
able to see her. Yeah, she used to have Jocelyn a lot. So that was good. So to that extent, it was kind of like almost like me being able to have a little time with her, so to speak, because my family was having her, and so they would tell me about her and send me pictures. So I got to see her grow as a baby into a 5-year old when I came home. So that was pretty cool. So that coming home, she really didn't know me at all like that.
Yeah. So yeah, well, I guess you kind of. I don't know if I asked you this or you kind of told me, but how did that feeling? How did you feel, or when did you realize when you seen that you being away for them 5 years affected her? Like how did that feel, and you knowing that y'all relationship is not gonna be as tight or as tough because of not just that, but I'm pretty sure other things that affected you and her relationship, like
Hmm.
knowing that you got a kid, your firstborn, and like you something you wanted, which was a closer relationship, better relationship, is being like when you first realized that. How did that feel?
I heard because when I used to go get her, like her mom drop her off at my grandma's, I come get her, and I tell her to come on. We about to go to the store or something like that, go shopping, and she didn't want to go. She used to, and she'd start crying. Like she did not want to go with me. She go to crying, and then my grandma, you know, I was a baby. Now I'm Jocelyn her baby, so she
Oh,
trying to. Well, you can just leave her here. You know, I'm like grandma. I gotta take her at some point. I'm gonna have to take her because she gonna have to get to know me. So what happened was I took her with me. I remember one day I took her with me. She just crying, she crying a little. I'm like, man, I almost wanted to take her back to my grandma. I really kind of did, but I was like, I can't because I'll never get that bond with her. So once we pull up to that store and we got to walking in that store, all them tears went away. She was, I want this, I want that.
oh,
Yeah. So it was cool after that when we went to shopping and stuff. Oh, it was all good. You know, we got something to eat, and it was cool. And I took her back home, but I took her back to my grandma's, but it was like for the first few times she would cry, but then she got away from that, and she would stop and her mom was. I remember I used to ride and watch her while her mom would work. I would go over to her mom's house and sit with her the whole time her mom was at work. We was watching the Five Heartbeats. That was her favorite movie. She used to love Five Heartbeats.
Five Heartbeats.
Yeah, the Five Heartbeats.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm too
yeah. You might have to check that out. But yeah, she used to love that movie. But we so that was fun. I used to love that. I used to love being able to spend that time with her and get to know my baby. And it was just a beautiful time for me, and I really appreciate having that time to be able to spend with her because that was very important for me and her.
So, what do you think what do you think triggered the the change in your relationship over the time? Because I know you said that when she was little, you know, she was fighting back and was going with you. She didn't really want to, but when you showed her she went in the store. She said she wanted this and that. But what really do you think happened that really got y'all kind of back towards a relationship that was suitable for both of y'all, or that y'all both like you was happy with, or
I
you
think
happy?
it,
Are y'all there or what?
well, it was we had a lot of inconsistencies at first too. With me moving from the the area from Missouri down here to Atlanta, that was big, that was huge, and I didn't realize how big of a role that played in her life until later on, and she finally told me, asked me why did I move so far away, because when I moved, you got to think she was young.
She was. Oh yeah, because
Yeah,
I
she
was
was.
still young. I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah. You was what 3, 4 years old when we moved to Atlanta, so she was about 12 or something like that. Yeah, so she was young. So
Oh yeah, I
I,
guess she's not
I
that much
yeah,
older.
I didn't understand the role that would play in her life and how that would make her feel some type of way. So once we was able, communication is big, and once we was able to talk and then both express ourselves, that would help us develop a better relationship right now to this day.
Yeah, and I didn't even think about that. Cause I guess when I was 4 and you moved down, she's still 12, still like a kid,
Yeah,
and you spending even less time with her.
yeah,
Now that I'm even think about it, cause we didn't really see, when we was growing up. We only seen her, when we went out of town,
yeah,
and then we would see her and whatnot. But that I'm just thinking, cause I know you was gone for certain things. You had to do when we. I used to be at the house. You used to be gone doing something. But for her, I can only imagine how you've been gone for so long. You supposed to be her dad and whatnot. And oh well, yeah, you are. But you not being there for so long, in her
yeah.
mind, she might be thinking this, that, and the other.
Yeah, and then you got to think she looking at you and Emerald and the rest of y'all growing up with me. Y'all all in the house with
And
me.
pictures. And
Yeah, no, y'all. She know y'all all in the house with me. So that probably played a role in how she felt too. But
I wasn't with you the whole time, but
who you wasn't with me the whole time?
yeah, we used to live with my mom at first for a
I,
little bit.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
okay, for the most time, yeah.
90% of your life you was with me. I mean, even when you stayed with your mom, you was at my house on the weekends. I mean, and when you did go to your mom's, it was probably like 2 years maybe. You know.
Not wrong, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't that long. And then you was like 15 minutes away. It wasn't like you when you moved to your
It
mom.
was? I thought it was
Yeah.
like 30.
What?
I mean, it don't make a difference.
Like
30 don't
you
make a
was
difference.
15 minutes away. You wasn't that far away. So it was like I still seen you pretty much almost every day.
Right.
So I mean, yeah. So regardless, you was still in my life, and we won't go into all the details, but it was just certain reasons and certain things that had us going being inconsistent. But all I can do is just focus on my role and what the role I played in that in her life, and me not really taking in what she was going through. I was so concerned about how I felt, I didn't realize that she was feeling a certain way at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, now that I'm thinking about this, I really want to talk to her. Hopefully, maybe if she come down here, we can get her on the podcast or something.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting because I never even thought about what her life looked like as growing up. You know, she's always been distant, and we get to see her sometimes, but
Yeah.
that'd be something I'd be interested in talking to her about. But I did have these questions I wanted to ask you. So,
Yeah.
the first question I had was, if you had the chance to relive one day of your life, which day would it be, and why?
It'll be 3 days.
Okay, what instance are you talking about?
I mentioned them days in this podcast
It'd be
earlier.
3 days.
It'll be 3 days. The day you was born and the day your other two sisters was born. Because in 3 days I wasn't there. I was locked up each one of y'all births. So it'll be 3 days. I would love to have been there
Right.
to watch y'all be born. That's something that, I mean, I can't turn back the hands of time. But if I could, to answer your question, it'll start with those 3 days. Couldn't just be one.
But if you no, if you could, okay. The next question is, if you could receive a letter from your future self, what advice or insight would you hope to see in the letter?
If I can receive a letter from my future self,
I know you old, but
okay,
you're still future.
okay, what I would say was, you did a hell of a job. That's what
No. What advice would you be looking for?
What
If you
advice?
if you like when you open it up, what type of advice would you be hoping to see in the order?
I don't understand. If you saying, okay,
If
from
you could
my
receive a letter from your future self,
right now,
what type of advice or insight?
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
right now you would get the letter
Okay,
right now,
okay.
but it would be from the future you.
okay, what advice? Only thing I would say was what I've been doing lately is be disciplined and consistent. That's the key to success. I don't care what you're doing, whether you playing a sport, whether you doing journalism, whatever you're doing in life, those are the two key things. You have to be consistent and disciplined. Plain and simple.
Consistency.
It keep it simple because sometimes people put all these different things down. You can't just
Nah,
keep
yeah,
it real
that's true.
simple.
That's
Discipline and consistency.
Okay, the next question is: imagine you have a chance to revisit a moment from your past, whichever you choose, and you would. Oh wait, hold on. Imagine you have a chance to revisit a moment from your past. Which moment would you choose, and what would you do differently, if anything?
A moment from my past.
Yeah,
What I would do different.
if anything.
It's one thing we never talked about this, but it's one thing that plays in my head
Mhm.
often.
But
I ain't
yeah.
gonna say often, but it used to. It used to play in my head often, and it was back in 2007, April of 2007, April the 2nd, 2007, and that was the day your uncle, my little brother, got killed. That's
Oh, yeah, we
yeah,
didn't even talk
yeah.
about
We
that.
didn't talk about it, but it was something that happened that day. Then when I look back at it, I'm like, it just made me think like if it was something that I could have done different, because I seen him that day, and I told him he has some things on his mind he wasn't thinking right, and I was just telling him like, just chill out. I'm gonna make some things happen, and everything gonna be all right, but just let me take care of some things, and wait till you hear back from me before you do anything, because he was kind of hot headed at the time, and I didn't just want him to do something that would, affect him in a negative way. So when I had that conversation with him and I left, I didn't know that would be the last time I seen him. So when I go back, I'll be like, man, maybe I should have just took him with me, and he probably just roll with me for a little while that day, because I know how he was feeling that day, and we sit there and talk for about 2 hours. So when I got a phone call saying that something was going on, he hadn't got shot or nothing, but somebody was calling me, telling me he was out there in the neighborhood and the police had been called, and I might want to come out there and check on him and this and that. And then it was like, well, the police he ain't in no trouble. They gonna let him go.
Right.
And I was sitting on the bed, and I was like, should I go up out here? Then I was like, I'm gonna call mama. Then I was like, no, I ain't gonna call mama because I don't want to wear her. And then probably like 10 minutes later, I get a call saying your brother shot.
Right after that.
Right after that, so I'm like, man, that was one thing I like. What if I would have just got up and left? What if I would have just did? So that's a moment that I kind of just played in my head for a while. And
Yeah.
after I became a little more mature and older, I just realized it played out. I don't want to say how I was supposed to. Maybe if I would have pulled, I would have seen. It would have just anything
Mm-hmm.
could have got worse. Maybe just so ain't nothing I can do about it. But if when you ask the question, that's one of the first things that come to my mind though. That
Yeah,
right there.
I don't really hear too much about him. All I know is his stories that he left behind and that everybody tells about him. And it's always interesting stories. It seemed like he was a very interesting person,
Yeah.
and would have loved to meet him.
Oh yeah, you
And,
met him, but you don't remember.
yeah,
Because you were
I
so
would love.
young.
Yeah,
So when he passed, you was what 4 years old.
that's right.
So
Oh, and that's right when you decided to move.
yeah,
Right?
when he got murdered in 2007 April, and I moved to Atlanta in 2007 in October. So 6 months later, I was gone. I had to
Mm.
leave though because if I wouldn't left, I probably wouldn't have been there for y'all because I was just that stuff. It was messing with me, and the no one never been arrested or
Oh, for what
charged with
happened?
his murder. No one never
Ah,
even to this day. So I just didn't want to be around and not
do
knowing
something.
if I'm in the face or in the area with the person who even killed my brother. So I was like, you know what? I was just going through it. So I was
Not
like,
even
let me
think about it.
just
That's
go.
something hard to think about.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause y'all don't know who it is.
We
And
don't know
just
who it is, and at the time, the type of person that I was, anything could have happened because I was in the streets real heavy, so it was just a lot going on. So it's just like for me, being a father and a person that had already been through a lot, I was like the best thing for me to do was just leave. And when I left, I came here. I don't have no family or nothing. I just always been confident in certain areas of my
mm,
life that I'm gonna make it. I had it might be a bad thing to say, but it's kind of like a prison mentality. I'm gonna make it wherever I go. I ain't gonna let nothing happen to me. That's kind of like the
no, yeah, I got the same mindset. I told my, no, I'm not even gonna talk about that. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm gonna
but
talk
yeah.
about it later.
So yeah, I moved, and not only I didn't just move for myself, but I moved for my children because I'm like, if I stay here any longer, either I'm gonna be in jail for the rest of my life or I'm gonna be dead.
Yeah,
And what that's gonna do for my children.
yeah,
So I left. I just got all my stuff together and I left.
yeah. Regarding that situation, like you said, we never really talked about it.
Yeah.
But did you not want to talk about it, or
Who?
what happened? That was because I don't know the whole story.
I,
I
we
just
could we
know
could talk about it, but that's one thing. Since it's unsolved,
it's.
so
Oh, I didn't.
it's so much that we could talk about because no one's never been charged.
Yeah.
So I can talk about it, but I wouldn't talk about it publicly because it's something that hasn't been
Like you said.
yeah, it hasn't been solved.
Okay.
So it's an open case, so to speak.
Oh, that's cool. I'm just go to the next
Yeah.
question. Okay, the next question: if you had to define your purpose in one sentence, what would it be? And then, how does that influence your decisions you make now, or in your daily life,
My purpose,
if you can define it?
yeah, I can define it.
In
My
one
purpose in life is to become one with myself. And what I mean by that is to, like, I think the goal for man is to become one with the universe. And what I mean by that is to know thyself for one. You have
Mhm.
to know yourself. And I don't mean, when I say know yourself, I don't mean like, oh, I like to watch this movies, or I like this color. I mean, to know yourself is to know your your strengths, your weaknesses, to know your body, the way it functions, to know your brain, the way it functions, to really know yourself and know your purpose. And your purpose is perfection.
Mhm.
Our purpose in life is to seek perfection because we've been told that we can't. We've been told, and then when you've been told that you're not, ain't no way you can perfect yourself. That's a lie because if you come from perfection, how can you not perfect yourself? If we all say we all agree, whether we call him God, Allah, whatever we call the Creator or whatever, if you say
Mhm.
that you come from that and you say that that is perfect, and so that means you come from perfection. So how could you not get back to that? My goal in my life is to seek perfection. Is to seek the highest of all is when it comes to mind, body, and soul. And knowing that the physical is just temporary. The essence of who we truly are, who I'm truly am, is my soul, my spirit. Those things will live on forever, even when I'm gone. Like with you going when I change form, when I move on from this physical body, everything that we do or have done, you gonna still have that with you. So that means I'm gonna still be here, whether I'm here physically or not. So that's my goal, is to leave a legacy behind, and that's what we doing with this podcast. It's the start of something beautiful.
Definitely, because that's also what I tell a lot of people. Because last year, a lot of people passed last year, and I just always thought like we have funerals and whatnot, and people have their different opinions on how what you do in the next life. But I always used to think, and sometimes I tell different people that the people who passed, they still live on through the people they affected while they were still there, like different things they did for people, or that thought and that energy that they gave that person will always still live within them. They live from the memories that you have of them, so it'll keep moving on.
Oh yeah.
And another thing, the perfect word, I never really understood, never really understood it, and because of that, I guess I didn't like it, because I feel like perfect is like opinionated. I feel like it's not like fact. You know how people say something is perfect or this is perfect, but I feel like that's always an opinion. Like, I don't know.
It could be opinion, but just me looking at you, I'm looking at perfection. Regardless of the decision that you make, you still perfect. You might make bad decisions, but does that not make you not perfect?
Right.
No, it just means you made a bad decision. I made a bad decision, but I'm still the essence of perfection, regardless of the decision I make. And my sole purpose is to get back with being perfected, controlling my thoughts, controlling everything about my life, because we have choices. Every day we wake up with different choices. So you have the seed of perfection within you. We have the choice. When we say, like I gave an example before, when you say, well, I'm on a strict budget, I'm not going to spend this money, I'm not going to do this or do that, and sometimes we find ourselves doing it anyway. It doesn't make us not perfect because we made the wrong decision.
Okay, good.
But we had the power to make the right one as well.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So even though you might choose wrong over right, it doesn't mean you're not perfect. It just means you made the wrong decision, because the definition of a perfect has been told us in a way to control us. So we can say, well, I'm not perfect, and I can make the mistake.
Like,
No. People, people want you to think that, so that way you won't strive for perfection. So you can give yourself an out whenever you make the wrong decision. Well, I ain't perfect, or I did this, I ain't perfect. No, I am perfect, and that's what I'm seeking. That's the whole thing, is fighting myself. Because that's the greatest battle you'll ever be in, is with yourself.
Definitely. Well, then, the second part of that question, how does that then affect how you move in your daily life?
How does what affect?
How does your purpose, like I said, define purpose in one sentence, and then how does that affect you in your daily life?
It's a constant. I gotta constantly remind myself of what I'm trying to do. Constantly try to remind myself, because letting go of all the things that happened in the past, that was like the number one thing to do. And I still have some of that in me. Some of that I might not, because you never really seen me really aggressive.
I heard a lot of stories.
You heard a lot of stories, but
yeah,
just think about growing up. How many times have I cussed you out?
Oh, I had this one time. Well, not a lot, but I remember this one time I seen your aggression.
I said, how many times have I cussed at you? Can you count on your hand how many times I cussed it? Can you remember me just cussing you out?
I think I can only think of probably 3 times, maybe.
So for you to sit up here and say, that means you didn't have that.
Nah, for real. No.
You didn't have that. Whenever I had a problem with you, 9 times out of 10 we would talk about it. I wouldn't. Well, I just go crazy.
No, I definitely remember us always having talks.
We had talks because I didn't want to give you the things that I got when I was growing up because I knew that would affect. I want you to be able to be sociable. I want you to be able to talk. I want you to be able to explain yourself, express yourself, and not feel like that like I can't. I want you to be able to have that conversation, whatever, whoever, anybody, wherever, because it's gonna make you a better person to be able to express yourself and not have that fear of what people may think or what people may say. And that's something I dealt with that a lot of people probably didn't even know because of the way I carried myself and how aggressive I was. But some of
Right.
that aggression was to cover up some of my weaknesses and some of my fear.
Right.
Yeah, so uh, I just was always when it came to y'all, I just was always careful about how I talked to y'all. And I didn't want y'all to feel like I didn't want y'all to be scared of me, even though y'all to a certain until y'all got a certain age, I was kind of scared. But name one time I whooped you.
Shoot, no, I really don't remember
Can't
the
even,
whooping.
you know what I'm
I
saying?
remember, I can remember more, even cussing out, but not the whooping. No, I don't remember no whoopings for real.
But then you think about my
But I
childhood.
remember getting whoopings from. I remember getting a lot of whoopings from my mom and my age.
But I never whooped you because I felt like it wasn't no need to because I know all the whoopings. The reason I didn't never whoop you guys is because all the whoopings I got didn't help me one bit. We just sit here and talked about my life in the last couple of episodes.
Mm-hmm.
What whoopings do for me?
I mean, yeah,
They
but
didn't do nothing for me.
I mean,
You know?
I still got a lot of whoopings though.
Yeah, but I'm
Yeah,
saying
you didn't do it, but
I'm saying when I became a father, I feel like that wasn't the way to go.
no, definitely not. Like the whoopings, cause I don't know, the whoopings don't really. I know after I got a whooping, I was just mad. It's in my room, like,
Yeah,
man, you know what I'm saying? You do the huffing and puffing, you think like, man, I just want to leave or something
Yeah.
like that. But it don't really make me want to think. I don't think about the situation and say, well, maybe I shouldn't have. Da, da, da. I just get mad.
yeah.
That's all.
Well,
I really think about.
you gotta think you was a bad child. You weren't bad, but you stayed in some. And
Yeah, I mean,
this
when
ain't.
y'all talk about how I was when I was little, and I was like, maybe like when I was 16, 17, y'all used to talk about how I was when I was like 4 to like 7.
You got kicked out of the
But I
daycare.
don't remember that stuff for real. That's
You
the
got
crazy.
kicked out of daycare too. You got kicked. Then people called me and said, "Could you come get your son?" I'm like, "What are you doing?" They like, they just telling me all these things. So I get up there to the daycare. You at the front door, and all your stuff is right next to you. I
You
said,
know.
"Dang."
Nah,
So
yeah, when y'all told me like I threw the chair at the teacher and stuff, and I used to walk around the house hitting people, I just don't remember that stuff.
yeah, you grew out of it, but you wasn't. I wouldn't say you was really bad, but you just had you had different things that you was going through. I don't know what it was, but you just that's how you was for probably your first 7, 8 years. You
And
know.
maybe we'll get into that on the next
Oh
episode.
yeah, we definitely gonna get into
But,
that. We'll be talking about you a little more in the next episode, but we coming to an end.
Definitely.
You know, so you want to take us on out?
Um, I'm glad we got to hear so much about how your past and how it's changed you and how you reflected on it. Because a lot of people can't do what you just did and think about all the stuff they went through and have a conscious thinking about it and like know what you did wrong and think about what you did right and whatnot. But you were able to, and we got to understand, why certain things happen. And now, next episode, we can go to where we left off from you
Uh-huh.
into my life. So
Yeah.
coming down to Atlanta,
Yeah.
like you told
Yeah.
them.
We'll talk about that, and I can't wait to get into your childhood and your upbringing,
Definitely gonna be
and
interesting.
it's gonna be very interesting. And then when we compare the two, it's gonna be something to really see and talk about because it's a big difference.
Yeah,
Which is a good thing because that's what we want to do. We want to break that cycle, and that's what I told you. That's what my purpose was as a father was to break that cycle and not allow my children to go through that same cycle that I went through of just pain and struggle and just we not doing that. And so, for me, seeing my children now and knowing that they didn't have to go through that, it just makes me feel good because you guys, your children, it's gonna be even better, because the things that y'all didn't have to go through, y'all gonna have the lessons and the tools to be a good parent and to make better choices than what I did as a parent or as a young man growing up. Y'all had a lot of tools with y'all to make those the decisions that seem kind of hard. When you can call somebody and you can get that advice and you can talk to somebody and they can put you in the right place,
Right.
that's a beautiful thing, and that's what perfection is. It's all about perfecting oneself and the people around you.
Yeah.
So I love this, and I love to be able to talk to my son the way we talking. It's just a beautiful thing, and that's why I say this is gonna be something that you're gonna always be able to look at and be like, man, look what me and my dad did. Even after I'm gone, I'm like, I'm gonna be still talking to you, still
Right.
telling you what to, boy, if you don't sit down, so you gonna hear me in your head like my dad's still telling me what to
Yeah.
do from the grave. So it's a beautiful thing, and death shouldn't be looked at as like an enemy, because it's not.
Right.
It's just something that we all have to do. It's just a transition from one stage to another.
Definitely.
That's
definitely
all it is. So it's nothing to fear, you know. So I'm glad that we did this, and I'm glad that you enjoying this and you get to learn different stuff about me, which is pretty cool. And
Definitely.
at the same time, when we talk about your childhood, it's gonna be things that you're gonna discuss that I didn't know. You know how
Definitely.
you was feeling. There's a lot of different things. So this is really good, and it's just gonna prepare you for your life as a father in your future.
Yeah, it's just I'm gonna have. Well, I'll talk about how many kids I'll have when when it's my turn. But
As always, I love you, son. Thanks for another episode. Well, thanks y'all for watching. Peace and love. Y'all take care.